Okay, good evening, everyone, and happy National Cookie Day. I will call the December 4, 2020. We're getting a lot of feedback. I will call the December 4, 2025 special meeting of the Woodbridge Board of Education to order at 7:09 p.m. This meeting is being recorded. The recording will be available on the district website. Call the roll. Jay Daya. Here. Sarah Beth Del Prete, not with us this evening. Lauren Francesi, not with us this evening. Brooke Hopkins, not with us this evening. Jeff Hughes, not with us this evening. Stephen Lawrence. Present. Mike Strambler. Here. Aaron Williamson. Here. And I'm Lynn Piazza, Chair. Staff in attendance this evening include Mr. Christopher Montini, Superintendent, Ms. Donna Coonan, Director of Business and Operations, Ms. Carrie Warsherding, Director of Special Services, Ms. Annalisa Sherman, Principal, Mr. Matthew Madruga, Assistant Principal, Ms. Cheryl Toffel, Assistant Principal, and Ms. Marcia DeGennaro, Clerk of the Board. I'd ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before jumping into our work session this evening, I would like to give a short shout out and extend thanks to our cafeteria supervisor, Jessica Hill, for providing the Board of Education with some delicious cookies in honor of National Cookie Day to enjoy during tonight's budget workshop. So board members and guests, please help yourself. On behalf of a very appreciative Board of Education, we say thanks, Jess. And now moving on in the agenda, item 2 is receive and discuss Superintendent's 26-27 budget proposal. The purpose of tonight's special meeting is for the board to get a first look at the superintendent's proposed budget for the 2026-2027 school year. Our superintendent, Mr. Montini, will provide a look at the needs of the district and the decisions that were made at the administrative level that led to this proposed budget. And for the board, Chris is ready to answer questions this evening. However, if additional information is necessary, he and Donna will gather that information and be prepared at our second budget workshop meeting, which is scheduled for Wednesday, December 10th. Board members, please mark your calendars. And just as a reminder, we are also holding Thursday, December 11th, if additional time is needed. The board will vote on the budget at our regularly scheduled Board of Education meeting on Monday, December 15th. And so for the public's information, no formal action will be taken on the budget this evening. But I will turn over the meeting right now to our wonderful superintendent, Mr. Christopher Montini, for the presentation of the proposed superintendent's budget for 2026-2027.
Well, thank you very much. Good evening, members of the board, members, faculty, staff, our youngest audience members over there in the corner. Thank you for the opportunity today to share with you the proposed and recommended superintendent's budget for fiscal year 2027. I'm going to start with our guiding principles. Our guiding principles, well, they do just that. They guide us in all of our decision making. Everything we do here at the Woodbridge School District and at Beecher Road School is in service to teaching and learning. We are guided by the BOA Portrait of the Graduate, our vision, and our mission, which is to create and foster a learning community that prepares children to be flexible, lifelong learners and responsible and global citizens. Everything to that end we do is in service to that and to empowering and inspiring future leaders who will positively impact our world. the financial plan that I will share with you today, while we talk a lot about dollars and cents, not lost on us the fact that we're situated locally in a time where the tax burden has increased and it's heavy, and that's not lost on us. But we put forth a budget, an investment, and a financial plan that will support us in the pursuit of accomplishing our goals, our mission, and our vision. One of the things that we do, as you know, we're certainly 4 or 5 years into a strategic plan, nearing its end, that focuses on the academic framework, building diverse and healthy alliances and contemporary learners. This plan supports those. And I know on this page, and it's hard to see, I did highlight a number of things, but lots of words on this page, but our plan, financial plan and budget, aligns with our vision and mission. It supports the goals, aforementioned goals, to help all students be successful. It's grounded in high-quality instruction. It supports programs that will meet the academic, social, and emotional needs of our learners. It supports continued investment in technology. Later on, you'll see that this plan includes replacing 90 teacher laptops, 140 iPads for one particular grade level, and it completes the replacement of the new line board that this board started a few years ago. All classrooms will now have a new line board, if in fact this budget is passed. This budget includes responsive staffing and program adjustments that's based on student needs and enrollment. You'll see that we allocate a vacant teaching position to a 0.5 pre-K teacher and a 0.5 ML tutor. We'll get to that in a little bit. It maintains class size levels in alignment with our guidelines. It delays capital projects while we as a community determine the next steps for the building project, and it addresses increased cost of supplies and equipment. We do this all, and there's a word up there at the end of that last sentence up top, while maintaining fiscal prudence, looking to reallocate rather than add if possible. So I want to start with talking a little bit about return on investment. So I'll start with what Connecticut calls net current expenditures per pupil. They put this out every year. The data's in the rear, so you get it for the year prior. But Woodbridge spends roughly $21,000 per student. The Connecticut state average, again, this is 24-25, is roughly $24,000. That's a difference of roughly $3,000. Woodbridge's rank out of the 165 Connecticut districts is 111. When you look at Woodbridge as compared to Dirt B, something that we do when we are comparing academics often, we spend $21,000 roughly versus $22,500 in Dirt B, a difference of roughly $1,300. That ranks 16 out of 22 Dirt B districts. If using last year's budget, Woodbridge were to reach the state average, we would have needed to add roughly $2.5 million or another 14% over the budget that was passed for this current year. When you look at the DIRB, sort of same philosophy, we would have needed to add $1.1 million or another 6% beyond that to reach the DIRB B average. So I share this information not as a lever to get more money or talk about funding, but in the context of return on investment, when maintaining fiscal prudence, perhaps spending below averages as compared to the state, yet having results from a return on investment perspective, academically and experientially, that I would say are certainly above average and are near the top of comparative groups. So we shared with you at our October meeting results from the Smarter Balanced Assessment. So one of the things of which we are proud is our scores in ELA in terms of performance, right? The number of students who are meeting or exceeding the target was just under 80%. That's number 3 in our DIRT. And math was just under 80% as well. That's number 2 in the DIRT. When we look at growth, there's 2 metrics for growth. Again, I don't want to rehash the October meeting, but part of it is the percent that are meeting or exceeding their targets, and the other is the average percent of target achieved. So for growth rate for ELA, we were 54%, which doesn't sound like a great number in and of itself, but then for average percent of target achieved, we were 71.2%. Both of those were fourth in the DIRC. Math growth rate, we were 64.1%, and the APTA, or average percent of target achieved, was 82%, and we were number one in the DIRC for both of those categories in terms of growth. So we are focused on meeting and exceeding the standards and relentlessly pursuing the growth of each and every student that's under our care. That's how we get better, by engaging in continuous improvement in all that we do. So yes, we are proud of our academic accomplishments, but there's so much more of which to be proud. And I think it's important to reframe a discussion about investments on the reason that we exist as a school, the reason we exist as a board or as an organization, and it's our students, our amazing students. And I think it's important to ask the question, well, who is the BRS student? And I can tell you from my short time here, although it doesn't seem so short anymore, we are scientists and musicians. We are artists. We are problem solvers and collaborators. We're engineers. We care about the environment. Other accomplishments of which we are proud: CAST Leadership Awards, CMEA Leadership or Instrumental and Vocal Awards. We are proud of our BRS News, student-led news program, our world language programs that spans through K-6, our STEAM program, our MAG program, our CARES, Character Education program, and so much more. We enjoy strong community partnerships with our first responders, our local government, local farmers, and of course, probably the best PTO around, whether it's at the Ice Cream Social, a couple of pictures there, welcoming back staff with plants and succulents and food on the first day of school. We are stronger because of the partnerships and because of the value that this community places on education. Which is why we as a school community have such a positive, tangible, warm, inviting school culture where students are kind and respectful, empathic, and caring. It was important for me to capture that picture in the middle because when I came here the first day of school, there was more bubbles than I ever saw in my life in one particular place. So if it looks blurry, that's because those are actual bubbles. This is all made possible because of the support of this board, the support of this community, our partnerships with families, and the great staff that you see pictured at what was convocation the first day of school this year. So we're proud of so much here at Beecher Road School, not the least of which is the amazing learning experiences that we provide and continuously strive to get better at for students each and every day. So I'll talk to you today about dollars and cents, but I'm really talking about advancing all of the great things that are already taking place here. Culture, the academics, social emotional learning, etc. Which leads me to some dollars and to some cents. The budget that I recommend and propose to you is $19,496,610. That's an increase of $970,755, or 5.24%. So I'll share with you some priorities, some of the drivers, some more of the who is the Beecher Road student, right? Who are we as a community in terms of enrollment, etc. Contractual obligations and sustained services. You know already from the November board meeting that the three primary drivers to the 5.24%, actually that whole amount, really is taken up from the contractual obligations in the center of this slide: salary increases, health insurance, and transportation. So when we look at Woodbridge's school district's enrollment trends, the navy color there, or the dark blue color, is the actual enrollment. The 860 is based on the October 1 data. The yellow bar is admin projected based on next year, and the light blue bars are the projected enrollment from Peter Prouda, one of the folks who puts together the enrollment projections for us. Our class size on the left-hand side, actual class size on the left-hand side, we are, as you know, we report this not only every board meeting, but included on a monthly basis in a newsletter. We track it consistently, and our class sizes are within our guidelines. As you know, we had one or two fifth grade that was at 22, slightly over, but enrollment on a weekly basis does fluctuate. When we look ahead to next year, we have proposed the number of teachers that will provide for the same level of class sizes that fit within the board's guidelines. Now, I want to point out on this slide here that the number of teachers equals 45 on the left-hand side, and that includes the one unfilled teaching vacancy that we didn't fill as a result of class size, as unusually small kindergarten class. So the total is 45 teachers in the 25-26 year. If you look at the right-hand side, and I alluded to it earlier, we go to 44.5 in terms of certified classroom teachers. We shift that vacant classroom teacher, we do a half pre-K, and again, just note of caution to those who will be perhaps watching or wondering, with pre-K numbers, we wait and it's based on enrollment. So we have the position, but we don't know necessarily, as it's a rolling admission when students turn 3, if we would need it beginning of the year, middle of the year, etc. But that is the plan. So in terms of certified staff, we'd be going from 45, or teachers rather, 45 to 44 and a half, and enrollment is essentially flat from 864 to 858, and a lot will depend on the incoming K class, because we're losing a relatively large 6th grade class of 125. So one of the things that's important in terms of context and understanding, and as you know, something that when we're looking at meeting the needs of each and every one of our learners and providing the resources necessary and conditions necessary for all students to thrive, we take a look at, well, what's the prevalence rate over the last 10 years in terms of special education? So in 16-17, we had a prevalence rate of 10%. This year, that's an asterisk, and there's an asterisk on this year because the other data is sort of official from the state. This October data is not quite yet official, but it will be right in that ballpark in terms of 13.9%. So a lot of folks look at this and say, okay, 13.9%, you're up 3.9%, but that's not really accurate. You're close, you're up really 40% in terms of the number of students. The overall prevalence rate is up 3.9. But over the last 10 years, that's a 40% increase. And I think we can say that even more in terms of the number of multilingual learners. So our school is a wonderfully diverse school. We have 24 languages. Our families speak 24 different languages at home. These are sort of in, if you look at the left-hand side in terms of English, Mandarin, Spanish, those are ranked in sequential order in terms of the percentages for your information. But if you go back just to 2021, we had 24 multilingual learners. At that point, they were called English language learners, ELL or ELS. We now have 60. I think it's 57 actually on the caseload. You know, we just had our last board meeting. Mrs. Knobloch shared a wonderful presentation about the ML program here. And we're projecting, relatively conservatively, a slight increase to 64. All the same, right in that 60 area, you're now getting close to tripling, you know, the numbers, or perhaps 250% as opposed to, or 200%, you know, as opposed to just thinking that you're only up 40%, let's say. So this slide sort of foreshadows a little bit, and so does the earlier slide in terms of advancing and providing additional support due to the increased numbers of multilingual learners. And so we are proposing reallocation of staff. Again, I mentioned it earlier, where we take the one classroom teacher that's currently vacant and we decrease that FTE and reallocate it to a 0.5 preschool teacher based on increased enrollment and a 0.5 a multilingual tutor who will work under the direction of the ML teacher to provide additional support and services to ML students due to increases in the number of ML students. So a zero change in terms of FTE. I will say that you're taking one certified position and making a half certified and a half not certified. So there was, even though it's net neutral in terms of FTE, there was slight salary savings because of that we already realized in our salary amounts. So the personnel, a historical summary, this is in the budget book. We are looking again at a FTEs remaining flat. There's no additional staff, just the aforementioned reallocation of the teacher to the other two positions. The rest, we are looking to maintain the existing staffing level so that we can continue to advance the great work that takes place here every day. And so the baseline budget, again, this is in the budget book. We're beginning with roughly $18.5 million. And you will notice again that contractual salaries and the health and life insurance benefit total is roughly $900,000 of the $970,000 increase. There are slight increases in some of the other, we'll call them lines or objects, and two of which have some decreases. One is the internet and utilities, telephone and professional services. The other is the superintendent reductions. So through the process, pruning or fine-tuning some things, I would say. It's also important, and I'll highlight something on this slide. This takes each object code. Now you have this in more detail in the budget book, where under salaries, it'll break out the different types of salaries. But it illustrates the point of salaries are a 3.8% change. That's a variance of $400,000 increase to our budget. Benefits, that's a net percent change of 11.9%. You know that our health insurance, based on our last meeting, is going up 15%. So that's offset a little bit by other things that are in the benefit object for a total increase of 11.9%, but it's still an increase of $440,000. So how we get to the $970,000 increase is really largely the 100 and the 200 series or objects that you see here, salaries and benefits. Professional services, you'll notice, is a decrease of $37,000. So one of the things, and this was a question that came from a board member that we'll get to in a bit, but I'll like to kind of answer it right now with, we were funding an OT and a PT through professional services, through ACES. We then were able to hire them directly, so the shift was from professional services to salaries. So there was a little bump to your question that we'll address in a little bit, a little bump in salaries that was offset by a reduction in professional services. The reduction was actually closer to $60,000 or $65,000. Donna has a more accurate number and can explain later. But that's offset by, of course, other increases, and the net of the whole series is $37,000 decrease. Property services and utilities is down roughly 4.7%. Other purchase services, that's basically that $148,000 there is transportation, is the lion's share. Oh, I can't move. And then property is down 12.7%, which is roughly $14,000, and other objects is flat. Other objects is flat at $37,900. So this is typical. Likely, if you've gone back to all of the budgets since the existence, benefits and salaries are the lion's share of the expenditures. After that, that other darker blue column, the 5%, is transportation, and then it's somewhat equally distributed amongst the others. So when we look at change over the current year by object, from a graphing perspective, this is another way to just illustrate that 45% of our increase is related to salaries, another 45% to benefits, and 15% to transportation. All of our other categories are net neutral. And And if we go back to the stacked driver diagram that we were looking at, although it might have different colors, but that we were looking at, that is the 5.24 right there, those three categories, and everything else is net neutral. Donna's on top of utilities and continuously is looking at trends. There's no estimated change in water expense. The pool's offline. That ends up being positive in terms of utility costs, obviously. Electricity rates are locked through 2027 of November. Fuel and heat, natural gas rates are also locked through June of 2027. So here you have a 10-year historical trend in terms of utilities. One of the things that we're looking to do is to implement next year, year one of a 5-year life cycle replacement plan. So there's lots of devices here. Technology, this school is amazing with technology. Technology, unfortunately, like other things, needs to be replaced when it gets old, and we have a lot of usage. Kids here can do just amazing things. So if you look at the baseline, and you have this printed out for you as a reference document there, although it's not super large, it's probably easier to see on the screen. So we essentially went through and we identified the number by grade level of devices, the generation and or the current age of the devices that they had. And then we made a plan, and the green is the year in which those numbers will change based on whatever the grade level enrollment is. But for now, the plan essentially is that we replace teacher laptops, iPads, and Chromebooks are all on this, and this is a device life cycle, not a complete life cycle. It's the infrastructure, the access points, the wireless, the servers, that's sort of phase 2. But essentially, if we do this, then in year 1, it would be iPads and teacher laptops, year 2, iPads, year 3, iPads, year 4, Chromebooks, which would be in your 5th grade or 6th grade, and then in year 5, Chromebooks again, and then it starts all over again. So you can take a look at that. If you'd like to see the age and how it would work, and what we do is we essentially buy grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, and we repurpose their old devices to K and 1, because they don't use them they use it a lot less, and they don't use them for testing, and they don't need the updates and the software packages that require updates and support. So that's what this plan does. And this is sort of the next piece of that plan in terms of the finances. So the life cycle replacement plan funding is down the bottom. I kind of just blew up the 26-27 piece. 90 laptops we would lease for $24,000 a year for 4 years in this plan. We would then buy grade 3. We'd buy the 1 grade level of iPads for roughly 60 grand. We have 7 more new line boards to complete all new boards throughout the school. And we would require 7 charging stations for some of our new devices. That totals $105,000 in terms of technology requests. Some of that will be in leases, and some of that will be in equipment if you're going to look for that in the budget, because they're not all in the same object or same line. And so essentially, this plan for about $105,000 a year, if you were to keep about $20,000 for other equipment, every year you would have 1 grade level of either iPads or Chromebooks, and every 5 years you would replace the teacher devices. Laptops only, no more desktops. We are fortunate to receive some revenue and some grant money, mainly in entitlement grants that have been around Title I since 1975. So roughly $65,000 in title grants. Some of that goes to Ezra, but out of that 65, not more than 5. So we use the money to offset salaries mostly, And so part of Title I offsets the salary of a math teacher. Title II is used for professional learning and teacher training. It's actually, Title II is, that's what it's all about. It's all about building teacher capacity. Title III is your multilingual learner grant. That is the partial salary for the ML tutor, which the ML tutor essentially, and I don't know if that I've spelled this out, but I can, right now I can just tell you it's essentially $25 an hour for 4 hours a day at $100 a day for 160 days. So $16,000 a year, because we don't need the tutor in the very beginning and the very end. And that's offset by about 9,000, because 1,200 goes to Ezra. So the district, or 7,000, the district share is between 7,000 and 9,000 for that tutor. So we're not talking about a heavy lift. And again, we took half a teacher out for that, so there was already savings there. IDEA is our largest grant, and that's used for the salary, or partial salaries of our special education director and for special education teachers, a speech and language pathologist, and social worker. We also get IDEA Part B 619 for pre-K, and that offsets some staff in pre-K as well. Open choice, an estimate of $72,000, which we credit to transportation. We have non-public health for the Ezra nurse, and we receive revenue for what we charge to offset the pre-K teacher salary in the amount of $33,000. So that's the revenue that we receive. We look at the budget trend over the 10 years. Again, I will say this. This is a community that supports education, that values education, that is invested in education, and I think that that's evident right here. We're thankful for the support of the community, the Board of Selectmen, and the Finance Board for all those things. As you know, the last meeting we did what we were first exposure, at least at the board level, or first read, if you will, to the capital budget requests. This is a snapshot of those capital budget requests. What I will say is that there is already an escalator built in. I know we talked a lot about the escalator, but Antonazzi did put in those numbers that we were working with an escalator already. So we can certainly talk more about that either later or at a workshop. And as you know, this just pauses a little bit while we determine next steps as a community in terms of capital budget requests. So I feel like I went very fast, but we're already at sort of next steps, which would be a workshop next week, Wednesday the 10th, 11th if needed. We will accept the budget as from the board on the 15th at a board vote. We'll present to the Board of Selectmen / Board of Finance, and it might just be the Board of Finance, but January, that could be my sort of newness. January 27th at 6 p.m. at Town Hall. A public hearing that will be scheduled TBD in April, and then hopefully by our June board meeting, we'll be able to adopt the final budget or whenever it is approved. So that's essentially next steps. For those who are watching at home or from the audience, public feedback can be provided to our chairman of the board at that email address. There's also a link there with some of the budget development reference materials that we'll likely add to and post in preparation for next week. And this was a slide from two things, from Superintendent Tenza last year, Superintendent Tenza, excuse me. I loved it, and I had to keep it. One, as a thank you to her for being so welcoming. She said that I was going to love it here, and she was absolutely right. And two, what's more precious than keep the great work going from a BRS kindergartner last year. So happy to receive feedback from the greater community and public and answer any questions that you may have, if able. If not, I can assure you we will come ready Wednesday. Thank you. I did have some notes that I couldn't look at. That's okay.
Right. Thank you, Chris. That was amazing.
That's too fast, right?
No, it's great. It was
No,
real
it
good.
wasn't.
So I will open this up. Donna, do you have anything you wanted to add?
Not necessarily. It was a
I-
breeze getting, I mean, it was a
I
great
know that
process this year. And actually, one thing I would add is, I want to give a shout out to Al Pulo, because when people ask me things that happened 10 years ago,
Hang on. Could you just slide that microphone down so that, are you?
actually, I have one here.
Yeah,
I have one.
Not
You
gracefully.
keep yours.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to Al Pulo, my predecessor, because when people ask me things that happened 10 years ago, I can easily find them in a shared drive and come up with the answers. And yeah, he did great work, and it's a pleasure to follow him.
Thanks for adding that. Appreciate it. Okay. Lisa, Carrie, do you have anything you want to add? Okay. Then I'm going to open the floor for board questions.
I'm going to go join Chris up here and
Or
so we can
comments,
sit
yeah.
together if we have answer questions.
And I just have a very quick one.
Sure. Could you
Anticipated
make
budget
sure you're talking
questions.
to the microphone so
The
that...
anticipated budget questions, could you go through those? Because that's going to answer half of my questions straight up. Is
Yes.
that okay?
Yes, I'm trying to queue up, we made a graph to answer one of your questions too, it's just not coming up.
Because I noticed the anticipated questions, I think that will speed things up.
Great. Why don't we,
Yeah, so board members, Donna created a little sheet here for us with 9 anticipated budget questions that she thought perhaps might be asked by board members or the community, and gave an answer to each one. So that's provided for each of you. And there's also some information on the multilingual learner tutor. And then Jay, I believe you offered some questions
It was
earlier.
late, I was sorry, it was late last night. I got into
Which
very
we
late.
thank you for, and I know that Donna and Chris worked together on that today, so.
It was really on the main budget drivers, that's all it really focused on. I saw those 3 things, and I just wanted to know what the pattern was over the years, so we know going forward.
so it takes a while, but it'll come up, I had it queued up. Got a
I
first
think
up.
these were great, I just quickly looked at them, I think that's great.
So if you, this charge, I don't really need this.
No,
Can I give you guys one of these?
yeah, mine's off now.
It might be because you were both on.
Maybe you think so? Okay, so if you look at this, I mean, this is for the people at home. Do I really need this? Okay.
No, no, it's fine. I can hear you.
So the question that Dr. Dye
Do you
asked.
just want to go through the whole thing, because that'd be great.
Okay.
The order is fantastic.
Okay.
I think it's great.
So this was really an exercise of scrolling through like the budget detail, and you know, you're gonna expect to see a 2 to 7% increase in a lot of things, but if something exceeded that above or below, you know, we just thought people might want to ask. And so, you know, in the budget book, we saw, you know, OT and PT under the miscellaneous salaries had quite a large increase. And we have a person who works 6 hours a day, which is like a 0.1 FTE, no, sorry, 6 hours a week. We have another person who works 8 to 10 hours per week. We're calling that a 0.2 FTE. We had been contracting through ACEs for those people, but Carrie was able to get them to work directly for us, which is nice because you get the same person every time, and you know, they're more invested in you. And so although the miscellaneous salaries increased, but we have an offset because our professional services in the 3000 series decreased by about $56,000, $57,000 from the prior year. In the professional development is going up 21%. And that is because Special Services is requesting about $6,800 over their prior year ask, and it's going to be spent on SPIRE training, additional dyslexia training, and LRP. I don't know if Carrie wants to expand on what those are.
LRP is a conference that is a national conference on law and best practices, and it's one that other directors and people in Connecticut and across the country go to, and it's something that we as a district haven't gone to in a number of years. Amity is going almost yearly now, so to be able to have either myself and or me and someone else go through part of
And
it.
in addition to that, I will just say last year, Carrie really cut herself a lot because she had an important staff person that was coming, their grant was expiring, and we were trying to bring them into the general fund, and so she was trying to make that as easy as possible. But now she's hoping to restore the professional development line. Okay, why are leases down 39%? We are intending to enter our Xerox copier leases up this year. We have become aware of a contract that was bid through the state of Connecticut that we can jump on that would save us about $20,000 a year in copier lease expense. And Anthony Billings is in the process of testing the machines. He's gone to see them, he's measuring them, he's making sure they fit our needs, but we believe we can do at least that well by getting a new copier lease. And then, as Chris mentioned, our tech lease is over for the Apple devices, the teacher devices, and that lease was larger than the one that we intend to enter into. That lease had desktops and laptops, whereas we are just intending to do the laptops through the lease. And then I think Chris mentioned the refresh cycle that we're implementing or hope to implement for the student devices, which would not necessarily be part of a lease.
Yeah, so if I may, the hard part was the teacher laptops being 5 years old now, and also having some iPads that are 6 or 7 years. So the only way to get them on the same cycle is to do the lease, which it's a zero. If you're over 50%, over 50,000 with Apple, there's no, it's 0%. So it's just a 4-year payment plan. So in the 5th year, we'll have a little bit of savings, and then we'll engage. It's kind of the only way to get the laptops on top of the Chromebooks and the iPads on a 5-year cycle. You could also buy all new iPads and divide by 4 right now. But then we're committing for the long term and the long run, as opposed to 1 year gives us an option every year should technology evolve or our needs or want to go in a different direction. So we kind of like the 1 grade level a year program.
Yeah. Okay, question 5. Why are transportation costs going up 15%? So we have, in transportation, we have the regular ed transportation, we have special education transportation, and we have transportation that we are required to provide for non-public schools in our town. So the contract for our buses, the portion, about 6.5% of the increase is the contract. About $49,000 of that is due to increased rates. About $8,500 is increase due to the enrollment of Woodbridge students that are from Woodbridge that go to Ezra Academy. And about $72,000 of that increase is due to changes in our special education transportation needs. So if a student is outplaced, we will try our darndest to, if there are towns near us that also send students to that school, we try to share transportation, but sometimes somebody matriculates and guess what? Instead of paying a third, now we're paying a half or, or more, so.
Do you want me to add to that at all?
Sure.
Yeah, I think the other thing that just is important to note is that the population of students that we have in special education seem to be changing significantly kind of across the state, and there are a lot more students who are either eligible for special transportation, which you're not going to keep a student on a bus for longer than an hour, so that then means another bus perhaps.
It's actually, that's a law too.
Right. And then even with our pre-K group increasing, we don't do car seats, we do harnesses. They're a 5-point harness that a student wears on the bus. But it takes quite a bit of time to put a kid on and off of a bus too when they're wearing all of that. So you have to think within that hour of stops, that could also increase the number of stops that need to be made. So in years past, we've only had one smaller bus that we needed for special ed transportation. Right now we have 2. I don't anticipate that we're gonna need to go to 3, but it sort of also depends on routing and student need. So, our ultimate goal is we want kids to ride with their peers on the regular bus, but not all students are able to do that.
Okay. Why is telephone expense increasing $5,000? And this is really just, I think we're doing a better, more accurate job of budgeting this line. Over the years, the number of cell phones that we have for various district staff, has grown, and the rates have crept up, and so it's something we'll look at, but we just weren't making it with what we had budgeted in the past. How about why are science and tag supplies increase at a higher rate than other instructional supplies at the grade level? And the STEAM Lab is looking to purchase additional grade levels of these mystery science kits. Lisa, you want to say what a mystery science kit is?
Sure, yes. Mystery Science is one of our curricular resources that we use across all grade levels. Some of our instruction happens in the STEAM Lab, but that has more of an engineering tilt. And the Mystery Science is the primary resource that we use within the classroom setting in order to implement our science curriculum.
Yeah.
And Mystery Science provides kits with all of the materials and resources that a teacher needs in order to implement that curriculum. To date, we have not had it across all grade levels, and so it's really been ordering all of the different items individually and cobbling together what we needed in order to teach the lessons. But our STEAM teacher has noticed that a strong need would be to have a kit and to have everything, in one place and all together and easily accessible for our teachers to implement the science curriculum. So
we're calling it
that.
supplies because it comes with the
Yeah.
tongue depressors and whatever, all the things, but it's really curriculum related as well. And then as far as tag, and they purchased a new coding program, or 100 licenses for it, and I know they'd like to probably renew that next year. Why is administrative software expense increasing 21.8%? So we are in one Munis, that's our financial software, one Munis database with the town, and we have decided to get a new module. It's called Employee Self-Service. We're looking to be able to, staff right now, we get our pay stubs like on a piece of paper, in an envelope. This employee self-service will be where, people will just get an email with their pay stub and they can log in and they don't have to call Jeffrey and ask him, oh, I lost my W-2. It's all going to be there. So it's, we go in halvesies with the town on this, and hopefully it'll save us some paper supplies and stuff down the road and postage. And then there's another piece of software called Debt Books. There are new governmental accounting standards boards pronouncements each year, and what we have to do for leases and subscriptions is a lot more work now, and this is a piece of software. it's probably more useful to the town than to us because they hold all the debt. But, we do go share this for them because the financial statements are a good portion of it is for us as well. And why are subscription fees increasing 30%? There is a kind of a large subscription called Brain Pop that was in a grant, was being paid for in Title IV, and now we're bringing it into the general fund. And Anthony Billings has purchased a couple of Google Classroom management modules at an additional $2,500. And those two items make up the lion's share of that increase. So those are what we kind of scrolled through the line item detail and anticipated that people might ask about. And then we got a few questions.
I'll take over next in terms of the multilingual. This was a posting that was posted previous to me. They were attempting to hire and couldn't find someone for the multilingual tutor previously. So it's not, you'll notice it was 25 school year. It hasn't been updated. We likely will post. I'll talk about it at the December leadership. So we're looking to put it in the budget for real for next year, but the need is now, and we do have some grant money from this year, so we'll update this. I just wanted you to have a reference for what do they do, et cetera, in terms of that position. The next page, again, that's very small. It's you have it electronically because there's so many, but you do have it electronically if you want to take a look at what we are talking about in terms of the 5-year technology plan. The next page is just for your reference. I know earlier in the year someone mentioned something to me about stipends. So there's a $33,000 350 line. This is a breakout of the stipend line in the budget. The teacher stipends. And then we get to 4 questions that we received that we can go through some of them. I don't think we're ready for one of them, am I correct?
You are correct.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I have my notes.
So the first one is actually kind of fun, actually. At least fun for somebody like me and Donna. Yeah,
Sure.
it's our kind of fun.
Charts, a little bit
Charts,
sad.
exactly. So essentially, Dr. Dye asked for, after looking at the 10-year budget increase, what were the increases in terms of over the same period for salaries and benefits, and health benefits. So Donna put that together and then dropped a couple of things on there because, again, we got talking and we thought it was really cool. So Donna, why don't you explain? Why don't you explain?
Why not? It was white paper.
That's right.
Yeah. So we have our, I love a stacked bar, and so we have our stacked bar for 10 years of the orange represents salaries as they've gone up. The red represents employee benefits as they've gone up, and then the blue is the services and equipment. It's kind of everything else. And what I don't love about the scale of this is, what the orange means. I don't have data label markers on there, but in 2018, salaries were $8,400,000. In 2027, our requested salaries are $11,700,000. So the green line represents the percentage year over year of increase. And so the axis for that green line is on the right. So in 2018, there was a 1.3% increase in salaries over 2017. But so I just want to say though, as you look and the green line dips, that doesn't mean that salaries went down. It just means that they had a lesser percentage of increase than they did the prior year. And, obviously 2023 stands out. That was a year where salaries increased 8.4%, and that was because there was some restructuring, and I think it was a lot of paraeducators were added that year. 2026 has a peak. We all know that we had to add 4 paraeducators and 1 teacher last year for class size. So anyway, and then in order to give a little more context, we were like, okay, well, you can't just not know the increase and not know how many staff we had, you know, that's a piece of it too. So the blue line is our FTEs during those years, and then our enrollment as well. That's another thing that could cause us to go up or down. So over the 10 years, you know, wages have gone up 40%, 8.4 million to 11.7 million. And then benefits have gone up 52% over that time. And then everything else, only 12.6. So, you know, wages and benefits, which we all know are really driving the show here. And then we, you know, we have 22 more FTEs than 10 years ago.
I just want to interject, sorry for interrupting you, which, as you know, when we negotiate and we talk about our salaries are in line with the middle of the pack in terms of our comparables. We're not 40%, people aren't getting 40% raises. They get what the market does, which essentially is, you know, in a good year, teachers are going to average 4% a year. In a not a good year, depending on what the market or the averages are, it's going to be 3% or so. Yeah, that's just compounded interest over time, et cetera.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, you know, teachers have steps in their grid as well. They're not just getting like a cost of living. They can, you know, the longer they are here, they have a step increase, or they can get a new degree.
Degree
and,
status.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we were also asked to pull apart the
explain why I asked that question. So what most people say to me is teachers are paid a lot of money. They get a huge salary increase. So I sort of know, my wife's in the education sector, the year-on-year matters. So if you take a look and I just detrend the green line, it's about 4.2%, 4.3%, which is close to inflation. So in essence, we're nowhere above or below where we should be in terms of that. And the next thing I wanted to say is the benefits. I think our benefits, that's one area that I would say maybe at the retreat, it needs some sort of major discussions. Because I think everywhere this has been the sticking point. And that's why I wanted to see which one was going up more and the benefits of the ones that are driving the whole picture in essence. So when I looked 10 years ago, the benefits were a fraction of the salary increase. Today the benefits are almost equal to the salary increases. So something has to sort of get realigned.
Right.
I hate to be the bad person here.
We will.
Something has
It's
to
a
be
national
realigned.
issue too, though.
I agree, and places are starting to address this by shifting the balance. I don't know if that's the right answer. So where you take some from the salary and you maintain the benefits, or you maintain the salary increase and lower the, so there's that swing back and forth. And I know it's a union issue, but I thought this would be useful going into the next year, knowing where we are with these numbers.
Right. And just a reminder that we have put a 15% escalator in here for health, but we don't know yet if that's going to be our number or not. So.
Right. It goes down, then the number goes down, and we'd be incredibly excited.
Yes. Let's see, question 2 was to,
And you might not know the answer, and that's totally okay. But if I was a lay person, which at this moment I feel like I am, I would say, okay, from 2018 to 2027, our enrollment looks like it generally has gone up about 16 kids. But our staff have gone up 23. And I think we should be able to explain that.
So I guess I would point to the 40% increase in, or 30%, I don't have it in front of me, numbers of high need students, multilingual learners, special education learners. So in that same time frame, well, it was 39% in terms of special education students with IEPs, And it was more than double in terms of MLs.
So I think putting an asterisk and having that on this sheet
Yeah.
would be super helpful and important because
You think it's fun too.
I do actually think this stuff is fun, but I also can imagine somebody taking a picture of this and posting it online with no context and just drawing attention to those two numbers. So I think having that right there would be helpful.
I agree. This was made under diamonds.
So the other part is the special education carve-out. So if you can show that.
Right.
And
So I was
show
working
IFTs.
today, but Chris was very busy and I just didn't want to prepare anything that I hadn't gone over with Chris. So we're going to answer that question on Wednesday if that's okay.
Because I think that will address what Erin is saying to a large, I hope it addresses that question, because when I look at that, I just showed Mike, I said I put a 20% increase on the top line, I put flat on the bottom line, and I said, I know where it's going and where it's coming from. But like Erin said, I want to see, and everyone wants to see that that extra 20% in FTEs is because of our legal requirements, because of special education needs, the multilingual, but you've got to show some direct correlation there, I think.
That's a good question. Thank you.
Okay. And then we pulled our transportation costs apart between over 10 years for the regular education, our regular buses, and then our special education transportation and our non-pub transportation. So the orange line is, pretty steady. You can see the contract increases. The red line, it jumps around a lot because we have different needs every year depending upon our population of students. And then, the non-pub is very nominal, but it's probably around 2023 where we stopped providing the bus, and now we just pay them what our per pupil transportation rate is times the number of students that attend Ezra who reside in Woodbridge that are K-6. So.
Looks like that's
So again, on that one, I'll go to Erin's point again to say that when you put transportation down, we put total transportation down, or do we separate it by SPED and?
In the total budget detail, you can see it, but in the rolled up ones, it'll all be one.
it's in the detail in the back.
In one, yes.
Because the volatility is driven by this SPED, in essence, I hate to say this. So this year you've got a high number because of that
Right.
particular need.
We've
So
gone up a second bus.
Right, and you can't do anything about that. And I think that's the point I think Erin's trying to say, where even with transportation, you're running into the same problem. Your growth is steady. Probably inflationary is what I'm seeing there, but the red one is the volatility. So some years you'll be really good, and some years you'll be really bad, and this year seems to be one of those years. So if you detrend it, that 5-point-something%, which will come down significantly. Am I right in the way I'm thinking?
And Donna, do you know if it was the same number of bus runs in 2018? Regular ed bus runs?
I do not know. Do you? You think so? You don't
I
think we've
think it
gone up?
might have been, but
I don't think our bus numbers have changed.
because I am thinking though that we're getting close to maybe having to add another run,
Yeah.
which is going to change that number significantly, Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I see over the 10-year, the chart is very smooth. At least in the orange component, it's the red that's driving
Right.
the volatility. And that's, I just wanted to see if that was the case.
Yeah.
And again, that makes the case for my SPED carve-out sort of analysis, because that's the volatility. Everything else is flat.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'll just say, I think you've done a fantastic job. and, really appreciate the thinking through the different aspects of what's driving this budget. In some ways, it's the simplest thing in the world. The only request I would have in terms of, for our next meeting is just to take, our 10-year budget increase and add a set of bars that show these inflation adjusted, based on the inflation adjusted totals, because I think also when we take that into account, the budget's going to look quite flat. Is there anything we're foregoing with this budget? Is there anything, if we were flush, you would say, this would be a really good thing for our school to have? And you don't have to answer now, but I do, in a sense, I want to signal that we do a great job. And, as we see on those per pupil expenditures, we get a great return on investment from the team, because education is really about the people in the building who are making this happen. And, that's really pretty incredible. And is there something that a Greenwich or a Darien or a New Canaan has that we don't, that we might want to consider looking ahead, investing in, to continue to ensure that our learners have access to the very best?
That's a great question that I think I'll think about, if that's okay. Yeah.
We did have the same number of regular education buses in 2018. I double checked.
Thank you. That's what I thought, but
I will say that what we proposed, we will supports our efforts for continuous improvement and growth of each and every child with the resources that are included in this particular budget. We certainly can come up with things that would be nice to haves or wants, or a lot of which could be facilities related too, so which we're kind of already in that process of,
Right.
of waiting on
Right.
the collaborative efforts of the community in that regard. And but I don't want to speak for the whole team. We'll end up talking about it. Certainly folks have been here longer than I know better.
okay. Erin, do you have anything else?
No, this was super helpful and really easily laid out. I would say I've been on the board, I think 5 years maybe, and this is the best, most comprehensive presentation I've ever seen, where I've really understood it, and it seemed pretty straightforward, so thank you.
Mike?
I agree with that. This was a great presentation. Everything was laid out very clearly. I loved how you connected also the budget to our goals and mission as a district. You started out with that, and before getting into the numbers, love that. I think like Stephen, I think the only question I would have is related to what he said about, is there anything that, so we all know about the facilities, so that for sure is one thing that we're in dire need of, but in terms educationally, is there anything that you feel like maybe we had to, we had to shortchange in any kind of way? Is there anything that we feel like we had to give up in order to arrive at this level of a budget increase? It sounds like not, based on what you said, but think on that and see if there's anything that you feel like we maybe are having to give up.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Thanks, Mike. Jay, anything else that you want our team
I'm
to
just
take a
second
look
what they
at?
said. This is the best one I've seen by far. This is by a long way. I love the anticipated budget questions. Answered half of the questions I had already, so it was excellent. You took my questions last night and you got some answers to them today. That was amazing. My team went to that. I did have one or two sort of...
Golden team. We have a
No, it's very
golden
good,
team
very good.
here.
Well, I ask a lot of questions, and she did a lot of answering.
That's great.
That's
So-
great.
So one of the questions I get asked, and I think we might all get asked, is up here, a school district closest to us is Orange. So when you showed us the state average and the Derby average, this is an easy one for us to do. I think it's useful to have Bethany and Orange in there to see what their averages are too, where they rank.
Actually,
Those things would be very useful to put in here every time, because I always get asked that they spend this much, they do that much.
I did that already. I have that already
Beautiful.
on a post-it note or something.
So I think you've already got the charts here with the DERG and the statewide. Something a note below it would be really helpful, I think. That's just me.
Yeah, so I'll do a bullet line under that.
Yes, please, yeah. Yeah, I don't know who does our forecasting, but clearly on the page 12, it's way out.
It's page 12.
So we see, I could just take a rolling average of 3 or 4 rolling average and I get the number. So on page 12, forecasts are out.
Oh, yeah, so what's going to happen now is, we'll have to get new forecasts, but I kept the light blue because these are, we now have our grade level of an 85. So as that 85, we have 85 to 140. That's a really big span in terms of percentage-wise. So as that 85 grade level K moves to first, second, third, that will impact a number of these light blues for the next 5 years. So yes, you're right.
Yeah, so that's something people always ask about in the town, the forecast. And they always say the forecast is way off. So it'd be good to see what would the forecast for 24, 25, 23.
We can
And
do
see
actuals versus forecasted.
How much variance we have in that.
It's another chart.
Does that make, no, just a line. Just a line to show us, this is where the forecast was, this is where we actually are.
We actually were tracking that. Wasn't that in that document for previous years? Or I thought I saw it somewhere, so that's good. We'll get,
Yeah, because we want to just create a confidence interval. To say that we're not sure it's going to be that, but the interval is it's going to be in there. So it could be below, it could be, in essence, you're just saying this is our safety. So
We've been using the PSIS data for the actuals, and that's always comes out in October, and we do have creep throughout the year. So because we start with 840, we might end at 870, you know?
I can actually tell you we have a net migration of 25.
So just do dot whisker. So you just show the high, low, high, low, high, low every year. And then you probably are in that band.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Because when the town sees this, they're always like, people, my neighbor says to me, oh, but you know, there were 1,000 students 15 years ago. So you're only at 850 now, so why do you need all these new facilities? Why do you need the increase?
Right. Because I think that is said in many different communities.
Right.
across
So this is why
generations,
you can
but
just show that chart to show that
That's important, yeah.
our
So
projections are good.
the 858, that yellow, we're projecting,
Okay.
not, that's admin projecting. Proudest would have been higher because he was, and don't get me wrong, they get into birth rates but it still was that 85 grade level anomaly, which will then skew the data.
So I love my, as you guys can tell, my asterisks on these. So on here, I would just put an asterisk that says based on current housing.
Yes.
Because
I was
there's
gonna
a
say
new
the same thing.
legislation at the state level and new things, as we all know, happening with our town and, you know, potential building. So I would just be clear that this is based on current housing.
Good point. Excellent. I was going to say that we have to consider what may be down the pipe.
And I love the technology replacement. I think that's fantastic. The software would be the same where you put that into.
Yeah, that's the next phase. Yeah, this year the requests were devices. We didn't really kind of have a plan, so now we have a plan. And as you know, we do our growing one for facilities. We shared that, I think, at a meeting, and we're going to start layering on pieces. But yeah, software, and then what I call the bones, the infrastructure, access points, servers, It's like we're a few years out.
When you lay it out, nobody has an argument then.
Yeah.
Because each year you're tracking this and you're showing the replacement cycle. And some years you might say, oh, we might be able to hold these out for another year,
Yes,
right? Some years, but you should really be meeting the cycle.
yes,
So
because
if
you
you're
don't,
in the cycle-
yes. And if you do the cycle, then you're maintaining, you don't have that year where you're like, now I have three, I mean, other than if something goes wrong, but you're trying to avoid we need $300,000 this year for technology.
Yeah.
I call it a major reset. So
We
you
use
don't
our
need it.
ESSA money to do a major, network backbone upgrade and wireless access, and so that's pretty recent, but, that stuff ages
So
quickly.
Yeah, it takes very, very, much quicker than it was 10 years ago. So, no, this is great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Remind me what we're doing next Wednesday.
So next Wednesday, Donna and Chris will have some additional information based on our questions, based on some information they weren't able to get together.
We'll have the
Basic.
model for special education.
Right,
We'll have the additional information that was asked today in terms of
the BOA stuff,
the
all
BOA
those things.
stuff, the revised inflation. We'll update this chart. We've been capturing the questions, and email us any questions.
Anything else you think of?
Yeah, that you think of.
Right, and we'll encourage any board member that wasn't here to review what's on board book, to maybe watch, and so that if they have any questions, they can send them off to you. So I don't anticipate that it will be a really long meeting next week. It'll be answering your questions and going over what we've already seen.
I was going to say, can we do it remotely, or is there any chance to do that? Because I just see
You can
nothing
do-
major.
Whenever you,
Is that okay? Everybody be okay with that?
Fine with me.
Do you want to do it remotely?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I think it was important to do this one in person. I think given that it seems like we answered the majority of questions, we can be certainly flexible with whatever you wish.
I mean, yeah, we might want to be together, but.
Yes,
You guys
we'll be
can do
here.
remote, yeah.
Yes, yes, because well, I actually used somewhat effectively the board there with a camera on it, so we can go in my office and be together.
Okay,
Yeah, so we hybrid.
does that work for you, Marcia?
Whatever you want to do.
Okay. Then it sounds like,
That's okay.
That's
I was just going to say it
the,
might be easier for everybody. I think the
Board's
Wednesday meeting
preference.
was if we saw something major. But I think the budget drivers helped a lot
yeah,
to get over that hurdle.
and then it won't matter what the weather is. Well, it will for you guys. But it will have less of an impact. We maybe can do it remotely and then not have to hold the Thursday open. But we are going to hold the Thursday just to be certain that we have all our ducks in a row and weather permitting and power permitting and all those other things. Okay,
And then-
I think we're good.
Great. Do you mind if I just say
Finish up.
couple quick words. I want to thank the team. They did a fantastic job putting together the budget. There might have been some angst, like what am I doing sitting at the table? This is kind of, but it really was a team approach, value added from everybody. I think they're getting to know me a little bit and understand me. Marcia sent me a million documents because she knows everything. And I have whatever I need in a second. And I ask a lot of questions of a lot of people, and they did such a good job putting this together. Really a budget that reflects, student. Yeah, it's okay. I'm just saying some nice things. It's a student for school. Hands down, it's welcoming, caring, kind. It's been tangible ever since the first time you walked me up that long hallway to the meet and greet. You can feel it. Everybody here does a really great job, puts students first, and I think the budget is just another example of that, and the team did a fantastic job, so thank you all.
Yeah, a real round of applause. And the hard work, I mean, we know it's such a compressed period of time for you guys, and not an easy period of time where, you know, you have nothing else on your plates. So we really appreciate the work that all of you have done, and Cheryl, you too. We don't want to forget you because you were part of it. And the teachers who contribute their part to it. It really, having been here as an employee, it is a team effort, and but the lion's share comes to that table right over there, and we appreciate you. So thank you very much. So we'll send out a link for next week's meeting. So be watching your email for that. And I'll call for a motion to adjourn at 8:29 p.m. Do I have a motion? Stephen Lawrence. Do I have a second? Mike Strambler. All those in favor? Unanimous, Marcia. I thank you all very much. Nick, thank you. We appreciate it.